And okay,
Mhm.
cool. All right. Good evening, everyone. And I'd like to thank everybody for making it to this uh special occasion, special date and time for the Health, Hospitals, and Social Services Committee meeting. So we'll call a meeting in order at 6:02 p.m., I guess 6:03.
Yep.
And let's do a roll call, shall we? Where's the sheet? Oh, thank you. Wayne Beetham, I think I'm present. Steve Matthews,
Yeah.
Sebastian
Present.
Titlapilli.
Present.
Same
Correct.
Sign it.
I sign.
You did?
That's my sign.
Okay.
Mine
Oh,
is-
so there it is. Dr. Julie Gomez.
Here.
And then Rabbi Kaplan is not here, and we do have our chair, Julie Reyes, present via Zoom. All right, we have quorum. Okay, right. And first item on the agenda will be approval of the minutes from February 11th. But you've had so much time to review.
Yes.
Motion to approve.
Okay,
Second.
excellent. All those in favor?
Aye.
Cool, perfect. Minutes are approved. Perfect. So chair's report. So first of all, thanks for everyone for making it to this meeting. And essentially the chief things that have been I'm sure that we've been seeing through email was just the fine details regarding this matter that's coming before us. In particular regarding Mosaic and their the Padavan letter of response / support, as well as for the licensure, and we'll discuss that in a little bit more depth momentarily. Beyond that, not much else. And that being said, I'd like to move forward with that. So the key things that were discussed was the reason we're having this meeting obviously is because we wanted to ensure that the community was aware that this was happening, and that we can have a conversation regarding the Padavan letter of support, as well as the the pursuance of licensure for their existing crisis respite, which I think is currently located on 232nd Street. And then the physical move of the organization's main health clinic and services from Riverdale Avenue to the facility on 521 239th Street in the Bronx. As mentioned by that was discussed by Sebastian. Unfortunately, the agenda did not include the physical locations of these facilities. And so there may be something to be said for having at least another meeting where we discuss it. However, I do think that nothing precludes us from having had informed the community moving forward with at least drafting a letter.
Sure to meet them, if I may, also with Padavan, I think it's very narrowly defined what we could not support. And I believe it's mostly around the duration. So while again, I think best practice is to have the address and everything else, it was noticed that we were going to be discussing this tonight. But all that being said, you know, that was my biggest concern, that people knew we were talking about it,
Right.
right? And if
Absolutely.
you live around it, then you know what the address is. And I know, again, not best practice.
Right.
But even if there were 1,000 people here who are just like,
Right.
makes me sad.
And the issue really was the 239th Street address,
Right.
not the 231st Street facility, which is not technically affected by this.
I
Yeah,
think it was to be fair, they think they'd switched from a grant to
Correct.
licensure
Right.
under
So
OMA.
Both comes under Padavan.
Both of them need a
Because
Padavan.
it's getting
Right.
certified.
Right. But you are right in the sense that it was an existing facility
Existing
providing services. It's more of a technical switch as opposed
Yeah,
to.
but without certification, I don't think they have to go through community board.
Right.
Mhm.
When they go for certification, they have to go through
Right.
community board.
Yeah, it's only because they need an OMH license now that they need the support from the community.
Correct. And also, I think as has been mentioned, keeping in mind, of course, that non-response is also construed as response.
Yeah.
That's
There are community boards who do not respond to that or
Right.
like just let it go.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, is there a motion for us to formally
Is
discuss?
there anyone?
To discuss, right? To open the floor for
Would you like
discussion.
to open up the floor for discussion regarding this matter?
So moved.
Okay. Is there any members of the community who are present on Zoom who might be willing to who have anything to say regarding Mosaic, formerly known as Riverdale Mental Health, Riverdale Mental Health Association doing business as Mosaic Mental Health? Any discussion?
It creates a lot of traffic. Jewish Board and Family Children Services used to be there. It's Miriam from MJHS. And it did create a lot of traffic, and lots of people who went there for support services were visibly distraught, both before and many times. That is a concern. Are are they just going to kind of dismiss people after they have a session or a therapy group or whatever out in the streets, and people have broken hearts and confusion and a lot of adolescents and even children. So it was pitiful. It really was.
If I may, that is heartbreaking to hear, but since that was under a different organization, like as a behavioral health professional, I can't prevent someone from leaving meeting with me upset, but I should be doing everything I can to make sure they're stable before I leave. And since this is a different organization taking that space over, and my understanding is there hasn't been those kinds of concerns about Mosaic when they were in this space where the same building we're in now, like we hadn't heard that's how they operated when they were here. While your concern is more than valid, I don't know that that's something that we can kind of superimpose on Mosaic.
But I think to your point, Ms. Rabner, I think we did ask some of those specific questions. I know we did ask last month, specifically about traffic. Because of the location,
Right.
they did
There's no
say
parking,
brief that they.
so
Right. There's a
There
parking.
is no parking.
There's no
There's
parking.
no
Parking.
It's a
Street parking.
It's a tricky location.
It's a tricky intersection because you
Right.
have traffic going to the parkway, and then you have local traffic. There are buses turning both
But there's
directions.
a bus stop at that
Yeah,
intersection.
but the buses turn both ways, like the 70 bus turns this way,
Left and
and
right.
the express bus would
Yeah.
turn the other way. So there's a lot going on in that
There-
intersection, yeah.
They did mention one moment. They did also say that at least with ambulance, things of that nature, that they would try to have them turn, I guess, off of Henry Hudson Parkway, the Slip Street access. That being said, I live in that neighborhood, and I can tell you for a fact that yeah, it is a problem, and my belief would be that if we do any conversation we have, I think we should make sure that that is a concern. But
Well, there's the accessoride and things like that, will come to pick up people. And they're kind of large, like the ones coming from the YA also. So I don't know about the space aside from parking, and some they might have to stand out there for a little
Right.
while they wait for the people to
It's
load.
a 12-hour
Yeah,
operation.
Right,
load,
right.
unload and load.
right,
Some are cars that look like taxis, but other
Right.
ones are the larger vehicles. So if they're using the larger vehicles, accessoride or other assistant medical transportation, where the person themselves doesn't drive.
Yeah, I think it certainly would be prudent to make sure that we do address where drop off and pickup are, and if they do have provisions for, maybe even if, you know,
Where
things
they're
should be
gonna
dropped
put
off down
those.
the block, et cetera,
Yeah,
but
where
at
they're
least
gonna
to
put
make
those,
sure that
yeah.
that's communicated. I believe, David G, I believe you had your hand raised.
Yeah, I live fairly close. I just wanted to note that go by there fairly often. I've never seen a delay caused by people parking, accessorides parking, whatever. And there is metered parking about 100 yards away across the bridge there at 239 and the bell tower and all that. So it is
True.
fairly fluid and reasonably so. And I would just make another comment about the other location for what it's worth. I live the closest of probably anyone, probably 3 blocks away from the West 232. And I've lived there since the turn of the century. And this is the first I'm ever learning that there is such a facility. So I don't believe it has much of an impact on the community.
Right. Duly noted, duly noted. And, yeah. Okay. And I think also, I think they did mention regarding, I think, like you said, with individuals, there was they did, I think, Dr. Dimitri Friedman had mentioned that they do have a lot of space within the facility. And that they would, that certainly loitering or spending time outside could be limited because they do have resources and common areas that people can stay. So that the hope would be that they wouldn't necessarily, come from a session and run outside. But I think, again, that valid point. David, again, do you have another point to mention or?
Oops.
Oh,
Drop my hand.
Okay.
Julie has something, Julie's.
No, that's just
That's the,
Okay, so that being said, like to,
We have to vote to report this out to
Yeah.
the full board.
The word on the
we have to-
letter of support.
right,
that's, do we have to vote to have a resolution to write the letter of support, and then the full board has to approve that resolution for us to then write the letter? Is that correct, Chair Reyes? Julie, if you're speaking, we can't hear you. I saw you unmute, but I can't hear anything.
That should.
I'm pretty sure I'm right. So I'm gonna, if I say we go forward, so having heard no specific or complaints that would prevent us from supporting this, I move that we draft a resolution to support. I think we can, both of them, I think, hoping we could write one resolution for.
Both,
Right.
both positions.
and then we do have
We
their,
have a draft of a letter, right?
correct, correct.
And you would include some of these things we just talked about. The fact of the parking and whatever.
That would be that would probably be in our whereas clauses.
Right, correct.
Mhm.
Julie just says yes, she's having audio issues,
Okay.
but she said yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much.
So yeah, we would include most of the salient points of discussion and the whereas clause.
Are we, I think the only other thing you mentioned too is, the yeah, you mentioned that. Do we want to hash out some quick elements of things that we want to make sure are included in this, or are we trusting our
I think
resolution?
the only concerns we heard is about managing traffic and all that.
Traffic management and parking.
Other than that, there's nothing that we heard.
Yeah, I mean, I would recommend, and obviously I see to whoever's actually gonna draft this, just saying whereas Mosaic has been in the community X amount of years, whereas this location has already been in operation, whereas the previous location, whereas Padavan, we could open the Padavan regulations or whatever, therefore be it resolved.
I remember kind of.
It's a big, initially, it's a big deal.
Excellent. All right. So I think we're moved to that. We will both write this. We will. Have you had opportunity to see the Advent letter of support? The draft that they had
Here.
I think we have a copy here.
If I haven't, then it's probably 100% my fault. Well, if I haven't seen the letter, it's probably because I spaced. Not because I wasn't getting the opportunity, so.
All right. So we. Oh, there it is. So there is a draft letter that exists.
That's the one that we was circulated.
Correct,
early in the
correct.
day, right?
Yes. So
Forgot it, I do.
Here.
quick summation, Dr. Friedman, keep Bronx Move Board 8 is the receipt of your letter. Again, since the contact did occur on February 10th, requesting a Padavan response / letter of support for Roberta Mental Health Association, DBA, pursuant to licensure for existing crisis location. And again, we do lose the location from. Yes, ma'am.
Chair Reyes says this shouldn't be on screen since it's still a draft.
Okay.
This might not be what we share or what we stop share.
Stop share. All right. Well, okay, because I was gonna say
Well, this is
Somebody can print it here and then.
it's more of a, since it's a draft and not a formal.
Right.
And it hasn't been,
Vetted.
it was a draft, there were some
Right.
inconsistencies, it's not ready for public consumption, that I think is.
Everybody could scribble.
So,
I don't
but can-
think we're at the scribble stage yet. I think this is just kind of a template that
Oh, yeah.
we'll fill in as we go.
yeah, you got.
Okay.
Yep.
Are there anything in
I didn't see it, but I don't know if I'm allowed to get it.
President? Okay. Anything that we'd like to add or modify significantly to this document? As it stands. And the only thing I would probably add would be with again, given that the address on the agenda was not listed, we can say contingent on.
Location XYZ.
Well, we have the location, but it's contingent on the, one additional opportunity for community members to.
Would that put us outside of the 40 days though, which would essentially be the same thing as not responding at
Oh,
all?
I think we could submit it as is with the wording contingent on. So we've already technically had community,
Contingent.
we've had contingent.
Contingent on.
Can we say we have community board's approval while it's only committee's approval?
You can say you have the committee's approval.
The committee's approval, we can theoretically, this would be presented by next week.
When is,
We would have
board
to-
meeting is
Next
next
week.
week.
In order
We
for,
will be about 40 days.
We would be within our window because it's February, we were notified on February 10th. And
the
so,
thing is, there won't be another full board meeting, which is why we're meeting
which is why we
today.
met today.
Yeah,
in
but
order
we
to-
could vote on the next board meeting, the resolution, right? And then the letter can go out the next day.
It would have to be next week. That's why the April meeting would be outside of the 40
Right.
days, which would essentially
No,
be.
the March meeting, we can do
Yeah.
a vote, right?
Correct.
So the letter can go out after the full vote.
Absolutely.
But
We
we can't
could-
go out before the.
Well, we could also, I believe, please correct me if I'm wrong, but include the addresses there so that if public comment wants to happen there. It's not ideal, but we have a public gallery session if
Right.
folks want, or they can come and see what we're doing with the transparency thing, so the addresses can be provided then, and the addresses will be in the resolutions as the materials. Again, I know this seems a little like you were the one causing a fuss this time, but we've noticed it now, like.
Correct.
I don't know.
There's very, I think, as has been mentioned, I think we've done a sufficient due diligence to say that we've notified, and again, it's gonna be, now we're we're potentially gilding the lily. So I think going forward with creating a resolution and
Putting it.
finalize this letter to present to the full board, I think is perfectly.
So we'll be done within the window next week.
We'll be within the window, correct.
I also think there is a space where if it turns out that some shocking turn of events, Mosaic turns out to not be a good neighbor, then we could take this back up and reach out to OMH or whatever else, right? I think that would be within our purview as the committee.
Living upstairs.
Mhm,
Right.
Yeah,
Some, you know,
I didn't realize that.
yeah.
All the documents last month.
Mhm.
Yeah.
the
In this building right now.
odds are slim to none, and Slim walked out the door, but yeah, I think that's
Friend.
okay, so I think we can brush up the wording of this and have something ready for.
And I think we take correct the letter and basically that becomes your,
Okay. All right, excellent.
but happy to be a thought partner if there are questions after.
Okay, so we are, the thrust of this is that will draft a resolution in support of Riverdale of Mosaic, as well as drafting a Padman letter of support, which will be presented to the full board next week.
And this address 640, 642 is not gonna be there.
Both are listed, so they have two facilities. So the only address that will not exist, presumably will be the 5676 Riverdale Avenue, because they are moving their services from 5676 to make the 239th Street location their main base of operations.
Well, they're here in this building.
Mhm.
They're here in this building
And have been.
and happen. And then the existing facility on 232nd Street will continue
Service.
service as currently for crisis respite. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Okay. Can we make a motion for that? We've already voted on discussion, so.
I mean, I don't think it ever hurts to, rarely are you told you make too many emotions, it's usually not enough.
Is there a motion for us to move forward with the Padawan letter of support as well as a resolution supporting Mosaic?
I don't move.
Okay.
Second.
I
Okay,
don't know if I'm allowed to.
not
Not yet.
not yet. Okay, all those in favor?
I,
It moves. Okay, to the next order of business is the communication of combination technically of unfinished business and new business. As some elements of the unfinished business deal with our budget priorities, which Sebastian is eager for us to submit. Namely, I think the harm reduction concerns.
Are you reading from a specific person?
No, I'm going over I'm going over unfinished business in the agenda, so we moved on to the next item.
I don't have a paper that says those things. I don't know if I'm supposed to.
The agenda.
have the agenda?
No, I don't.
All right, so specifically, I think the biggest things that we were discussing with our budget priorities was specifically seeking funding and support for funding for support of survivors of domestic/intimate partner violence, as well as increased funding for counseling resources. The other part that kind of gets rolled into that other step was also, again, harm reduction. Specifically, whether plus or minus, whether we specific items like fentanyl test strips or just harm reduction globally. I think one of the concerns that we did have is obviously just simply saying harm reduction doesn't give some harm reduction is a concept and it's not something that could be put on paper as monetary. So do we have any wording specifically on how we want to discuss?
Well, there's now a bill before the council. I mean,
That was the old.
was that the old bill?
The old one
Okay,
was, yeah, so that was so the INT 1179 was last year, so we do need to reach out with them and see what the revision or the new version of that is. Same for the New York State Health Act.
So I can give you a little bit of an update in New York State.
Okay.
Health Act, there's essentially no updates. The
That was
bill, the bill is pending before both the Assembly and the Senate Health Committees. There are no hearings scheduled. There's some backroom discussion about possibly a conference. It is not included in the governor's budget at this point. We know where Senator Rivera stands, and we can support him if we are interested in that. Assembly Member Dinowitz is a co-sponsor of the Assembly bill. Haven't spoken to him about it. My view, based on what I've heard and read, is it will continue its lifespan into the next session, at least. So the bill that was initially introduced in 1991 or 92, not clear.
So it's old enough to-
At one
Yeah,
point
you
in the
asked.
teens, it was actually passed by the Assembly. It was never passed by the Senate, which at that time was controlled by the Republicans. There are a lot of questions about it.
Do we have a current bill number? You don't know.
Yes, but I don't have it. I don't think I have it right with me. I can. Get it.
Did the
Wait.
Senator's office ever get back to us on some of the questions that we asked? That they told us they will look into it and get back to us.
I think
I spoke to the senator's office just to confirm the status. I didn't go into the questions. I think it's a sufficiently complicated piece of legislation that if we want to dig into it, it's probably worthy of a full open session. It's I forget, it's a 20-something page.
There's a copy floating around here somewhere.
Yeah, it's a very complex.
Like 30 pages.
Yeah, it's something like that. And I think at the last meeting, one of the members of the board started asking me some questions.
Right, so-
Here it is. It's Senate 3425.
3425 and Assembly,
Then
it has a part.
They have a partner bill on this.
it's the identical, the Assembly has an identical bill.
With different numbers.
Yes, with a.
So
But I don't recall what that is.
Sponsor is Rivera.
Excuse me?
Sponsor in Senate is Rivera.
Yes, he's the primary sponsor.
There are like 40 of them. or
Yeah, they're 30.
Like, I'm remembering the right, but it could be.
32 co-sponsors.
So as
Yeah.
so the
And it hasn't passed.
well,
And it does not have the sponsorship of the Senate bill does not constitute a majority. And the sponsorship of the Assembly bill does not constitute a majority.
So we have neither,
And sponsorship,
neither a majority in neither of the two.
and my understanding of how the state legislature works is the fact that there are sponsors do not mean that they will necessarily vote on the final version that comes to the
Yeah, that-
floor.
right.
So-
I've done a lot of this, political stuff.
I can tell you, because I did do some research on that, how many sponsors there are, I believe. There are about 24, give or take, Senate sponsors and approximately 60 Assembly sponsors.
And my understanding is that the list of questions to Senator Rivera has not yet been submitted. However, I think that again, I think if we are interested, I think we can certainly start fleshing out the broad strokes of a letter of support if that's something that we were or a resolution of support if that's something that we were interested in.
We should know the particular, the main principal ideas.
Well, I think I think as we discussed, the big picture, items are things like, I think the belief that healthcare is a right, and that your healthcare should not be linked to your employment or to your employment status. I think you can make the argument whether citizenship status, let's be honest, you'll get healthcare no matter what. So
No, the quality of healthcare should be
Right,
tied
the
to.
quality of
The issue is how you provide it.
how you provide it, right?
And that's, once you get past the introduction, which has all the stuff that everyone could approve. Once you get into the details is where you get the question.
It gets into the weeds.
No.
This feels like maybe it's a little premature to draft, because I think,
We can wait,
yeah.
till at least it's read.
Well, yeah, I mean, my concern was if there were going to be hearings, then we could conceivably,
Right.
Voice our opinion. It does not, based on what I've heard and read, it does not appear that it is going to come to the floor of either house in this session. It's also potentially tied up with broader politics because of cost, and there are issues whether of how the federal government would react.
Right, yeah.
And they are key to it because it involves the Medicaid program.
Right.
It may not pass.
And there's also, my understanding is the primary opposition is labor related, specifically public employee.
So I guess the question is this something where we can draft a statement, a resolution in support of some form of universal health care in principle? And then when and if a revised version of this bill comes across, then we can then recreate another one that is a bit more specific. I think that my thinking is that we need to at least make a stand as to how we feel. And then we can have a conversation as to whether the specifics of this thing would.
No, I think we could.
But do we have enough information to support
This particular bill or universal?
Well, I think.
universal healthcare in general?
Yeah, I feel like that's just a little more nebulous, while like, my concern is, right, once it comes out of this committee and goes to the full board, there's gonna be a lot of questions about how are we defining universal healthcare? Like I feel like people are gonna ask, and rightfully so, what do we mean? Right, like I think conceptually, everyone's like, right, you should be able to go to a doctor, but like, also, but no.
You die. You live. You die.
Okay, Mel Brooks.
So, I mean, at this point, it is not. It is before the two appropriate committees.
Right.
But there is nothing scheduled.
Right.
To discuss it openly.
Okay.
And conceivably, if there is a conference between key members of both houses, there may be modifications to the two bills, which are, as far as I can determine, these bills have been introduced session after session for going on. If it started in 1992, we're at 2026. That's how many years?
They're old enough to go to their
Right,
25th college reunion.
So, I mean, I think it might be, if we wanted to, we could urge more open discussion about the concept, but until such time as there's really, this is the bill we're gonna vote on.
Right.
I feel in lieu of a resolution, my instinct is like, if we want to, I think it should stay on our agenda, and we could do like a forum of some kind of like a Q&A, and maybe, facilitate some meaningful discussion around it.
I
But
agree.
a resolution, I guess my thing is, to what end, right? Like, it'd be one thing if this was it's almost ready, but it needs a push, then maybe our support would push it, like what action is gonna
Yeah.
happen from our resolution?
Are we allowed to ask Senator Rivera and an Assembly member, Dinowitz to
We can,
do a town hall meeting?
I think that's certainly a
can.
reason, I think we can definitely do that.
Does the bill have a number?
Excuse me?
Does the bill have a number?
Yeah, well,
Right.
here, the Senate version is 3425. I don't recall what the
Yeah,
Assembly
there's virtue.
version is. I didn't write
Yeah,
that down. I have a whole file at home.
but that's something we could
But
certainly,
we could
yeah,
certainly say it's of significant import that if the senator and the Assembly member are willing, we would be willing to find a date and a time and invite members of the community in addition to members of the board.
We
to-
could do that in lieu of a May meeting, or in addition to like have our meeting and then open it up to
Right,
this, like
right.
to have this be the
Yeah.
discussion.
I mean, Senator Rivera gave, I thought, a
he
very
did. Yeah.
cogent
absolutely.
presentation. At that point, I didn't realize that Assembly Member Dinowitz was also a prime sponsor of the bill. And the other house, if he's willing to participate, that's fine. I believe Senator Rivera, who's been pushing this, would be quite happy to participate in something like that. And I think we could we could put a resolution or an item on the board agenda saying if the board agrees, the Health and Hospitals Committee would like to invite the two representatives to participate in the town hall, that we would convene.
I mean, technically as a committee, I think that's generally within, I think it's still within our,
I think it's within our purview to do
With-
unilaterally as a committee,
Right.
although I think
we can.
we should start putting it out there,
Right.
just in case anybody, people.
Julie should know what we can do in terms of.
We could do it during one of our committee meetings,
Mhm.
right? We could do a town hall during the committee.
That's,
I mean,
because we're just information holding, we're not
Right.
taking a
Yeah,
position.
no, right,
Yeah.
no position.
Julie says it's up to committee.
I think that that's something we can look forward to, and I think I'd say, so it's. I ideally well, you know what, before we target a date, I'll reach out to Flavia, and this sounds sorry.
Okay.
And see at least what his availability is, and then we can start targeting a date based off of his availability.
If it's not going to be reported out of the committees within the next, today's March 5th, within the next 6 weeks, it likely will not go
Won't go
before
anywhere.
the floor in the current session, I would bet. There's supposed to be a state budget by the end of this month, and generally the legislature session ends the end of June. They can come back again in September, and so on and so forth. But I think the issue is of significant importance to most people, that it's worth airing if people are interested in hearing.
Well, and I think one of the concerns that I have is, I mean, aside from, I mean, we are all in healthcare in some way, shape, or form, and we are well informed. Like, I had no idea the stigma was existing until we had the meeting. And so I can only imagine how much of the general population
That's right.
isn't aware that something like this is even on the table or even a possibility. So I think irrespective of whether or not it's gonna make it out of, and I think we've talked about this, how this has made incremental changes over the past 30 years.
Saying that.
The bold and alum at this point. But at least, I think if there's an element where we can at least make sure that if the community as a whole is aware of this thing being at least out there in the ether,
Right.
right? And that,
The Riverdale Press has shown interest in it in the past.
Right. So I think that, yeah, I think in light of what has been discussed, I think that this is probably a good thing to. We it will always stay as potential, I think it'll always stay in some form as potential new business.
That's it. Somebody's about.
Anyone? Okay. I think it would always, I think we probably leave it in some form as new business, such that if every momentum shifts, we can be prepared for it. But I think the idea of at least having some sort of Q&A is something that I think we can target in the near future.
Can you raise that at, when you give the committee report at the board meeting next week, that
Sure.
this is what we're considering? And then we can reach out to the senator's office and the assembly member's office and see whether they would be willing to participate.
Sure.
And then we'll find a convenient date and a time to do it.
Participate at the meeting of the board?
For a town hall.
Oh,
For a Q&A town hall.
Yeah, I think it's a sufficiently complicated issue that to do it in the context of a full board meeting where we've got a 2-page
That's why I was
agenda
questioning.
and a desire to
See
keep
that
the
happen.
meeting within about
Yeah.
a 2 or 2.5 hour.
No, it was a separate
session.
Would have to be separate, that's what I'm.
So,
And also
We
give it.
just wanna flag, we got about 10 minutes
Yeah.
before we gotta make
Yeah,
way.
Exactly. That's it, and then
We
let's
could
see.
try to stay, but dueling meetings was not on my bingo card
Yeah.
for tonight,
You
so.
want one of these things?
No, I'm good, thank you.
How about you?
And then,
Okay, thank you.
Yes, so the other topic of, I think we can, at least.
we
for the
want to
next-
find out if there's the council bill, is whether there's a new version of the council bill.
With council for this issue?
That, no, not on this issue, the issue that we discussed, about publicizing the availability of harm reduction.
Right, yeah, because we should find out if there's,
Does it have a number?
We don't know.
No.
we have the old version.
We have the old.
What's the old?
It's on the agenda, it's INT, yeah,
On the agenda here?
INT 1179/2025.
I'm not seeing it.
Cause they did give us the sense that it was not going.
Oh, there it
anywhere,
is.
right?
That you,
Thanks,
yeah.
harm reduction. What is harm reduction?
Long story, very
Yeah.
short. Anything that reduces the likelihood of fatality from some kind of substance misuse.
Right.
Oh, substance stuff, okay.
Right.
Think needle exchange,
Okay.
something called what, fentanyl strip?
Fentanyl.
Fentanyl test strips.
So,
Safe use centers.
Drugs, related to drugs.
Well, it can be drugs, it can be alcohol, it can be some kind of addictive.
Right.
It could be nicotine, it could be some kind of obsessive compulsive, that's why.
Number of things.
Yeah.
Or globally, right, like you could make the argument that technically like seatbelts and airbags are a form of harm reduction, right?
Fast.
It's anything.
Something that prevents
It,
damage.
right, in terms of mortality and morbidity.
That's
So,
interesting.
okay, so I think I would say we can table that until we get more information as to the status of that. And then at that point, I think for next meeting, I think we could squarely have a few, when's your deadline again?
I don't know, I think within the deadline next
Okay.
week, yeah,
Okay, so,
45 days or 40 days.
some member of the
Yeah.
budget.
Yeah, the budget deadline.
Yeah.
The final version by May 15th.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think for next meeting, we should definitely have some.
It's better to vote on the April
Right.
meeting.
So we should have some.
Need to have concrete things next.
We will have concrete things to discuss to go to the budget for next week, next meeting.
Next week is the whole group meeting, the whole.
Yes.
No,
Yes, our next committee meeting,
Next
we
committee
will
meeting
be
is
discussing at length
still set.
our goals for the budget for the fiscal year 2028. All right, any other concerns? Any other
I
topics?
just want to bring one matter to attention. I'm not sure if you're aware, CMS, Dr. Oz, sent a letter to state of New York. Citing concerns of fraud,
What?
like the way it was done in Minnesota.
Oh, no.
And they request specifically CDPAP programs, adult daycare programs, non-emergency, medical transportation, a bunch of other stuff. They are requesting a whole bunch of documentation from New York State to be sent to them within 30 days. So there is a little bit of panic with
And that's a very
if
full
this is
word.
gonna result in withholding federal match and how it's gonna affect the budget discussions.
And there was also the discussion on the moratorium on new applications for durable medical equipment,
Oh,
I think.
oh,
So because it's 6 month
Yeah, so,
moratorium,
but what happened to Minnesota, people are concerned with this letter, whether this is just like polite inquiry or whether it is something
Fascinating.
much
Yeah.
more serious.
I'm not trying to, my personal politics aside, how successful have those campaigns been? I feel like the current administration says that and then they implement it and then the courts generally end up overturning it.
Yeah,
I mean, it still creates utter chaos
Yeah.
while it goes through the courts, because,
they wanna disturb everybody.
yeah, well,
FDD.
I was already disturbed, they didn't have to help me.
we will have more information by our next meeting.
Yeah. I think that would be another prudent thing to make sure we think
Put it on the
on the
agenda.
agenda for next week, the impact.
Yeah.
Okay.
But thank you for that update.
I'll find that letter and I'll forward.
Where did you find it? How did you learn about that?
Part of what.
Okay.
I think there was something publicized about it.
Yes.
I'm not,
Well, actually,
New York,
what
I think New York is not the only state
Right.
that got the
But
letter.
I believe Dr. Rose actually put it on Twitter.
Oh,
that
I
he
just
sent
don't
the
know.
letter
That's the way you
Not
send official
Twitter,
government
X.
Yes,
notification.
exactly.
on X, I believe.
All right,
Circumvent the post office.
yeah,
Uh,
for as long as we have them. So,
I can't right now, guys.
all right, so that being said, any other topics? All right, it is now 6:49 PM. Do we have a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
So,
Okay, all those in favor?
Hi.
All right, next meeting will be officially April 8th. I think there was some discussion as to whether this overlaid with Passover, but my understanding is that
It's in the middle of
I
Passover.
believe
So-
the states will finalize today. right?
yeah.
Yeah.
So I think this is still official. I think this
It's
is,
4/8, so we don't know.
it's so, okay, so, yeah, so the 8th is still approved, assuming that the apocalypse does not happen. So we will meet, so full board meeting will be next week, and then, our committee will reconvene on April 8th.
Who board meetings on which day could you say again? From the listing there,
Full board meeting is gonna be next
Tuesday.
next Tuesday.
Tuesday.
And we will not meet on Wednesday, because we met today, so we will see you again as a committee on the 8th.
So when they hold this full board meeting, it's gonna be at the school at the bottom of the hill?
Yes, they're meeting next week.
Yeah.
No,
we can-
what do you mean bottom of the school here?
No, the
Good night, everyone.
Intech Academy, on the